Welcome back, everybody, to Sphero's Pi Day Hackathon. Today's been a good day so far. I've got two more people on at the couch. We're going to turn it over. We're going to have you guys introduce yourselves and talk about what roles you have here at Sphero, and then we'll go from there. So let's start with you.
Sure. I'm David. I'm the lead mechanical engineer here at Sphero, and this is my colleague Lindsey. And we're the mechanical team that kind of took Rover from concept that kind of started last June and brought it to the point where it is today, which is a design that's actually getting very close to production over at our manufacturer, and had a lot of fun doing it.
Awesome. So if you don't know what a mechanical team is and what you guys did on Rover, Lindsey, what was your role in developing this project?
Yeah, so Rover started as an idea, and it started as this hacky spa week thing, and we kind of developed it from this. We had a big orange prototype, which is our beginning one, and we used these off-the-shelf motors and stuff. So we basically pick the motors, pick the gear train according to those size specs. And then we developed and worked with a bunch of different people, like the electrical engineers, firmware engineers, and even software to make sure everything is packaged into this beautiful little guy right here.
Beautiful indeed.
Yes.
And so you found yourselves on the mechanical team, and so let's talk about, because I know a lot of people at home are wondering how someone could work at Sphero, or how do you get into this position? And so if you were to give the kids or even adults or anyone at home some advice on how to get involved in this kind of career from the both of you, how would you do that?
I'd say tinker. When we look at our backgrounds and we talk to people who want to join Sphero, one of the things that we kind of want to make sure is that they like doing the things that we do. And tinkering is a big part of that. So I've been down in my basement before where I'll come up with a design and I'm just hacking on wood or plastics or whatever, and I'm using just basic hand tools to kind of create things that come from my brain, and I kind of want to bring them into the real world. So we want to make sure that people who work at Sphero have a hands-on knowledge, because you can't substitute that. Even with the highest level of education, you get so much perspective by having hands-on practical experience. I'd say if you want to get into robotics, you want to get into product design, just get out and make stuff.
You don't need a robot.
You don't need a robot.
Yeah.
You can do things at home, in your bedroom, down in your basement, with just things laying around, and you can have a lot of fun doing it. And then you go outside and you might go drive it if it's got some motors, but otherwise you're just kind of creating things. And that's really, really important for the kinds of things that we do.
Mm-hmm. I'd also add to pay attention in physics and all of your classes and stuff. I can't tell you how many times we're doing free body diagrams in the office and doing spreadsheets and analysis and all that. You need to make sure you have a strong engineering base, because we're putting a lot of money into these robots, and we want to make sure they work when we build them.
The company needs to trust you to be able to do that.
Yeah, I guess that too.
Right?
Yeah, we have to back it up.
And so now that we're kind of getting into, we know who you are, let's talk about what you guys like about this robot. And so we actually had a question from Twitch, I believe, or maybe Kickstarter, from Andy, and it was about CAD designs and if they're going to be available to use so they can build their own toppers.
Yeah, and the short answer to that is yes. It's going to take a little bit longer. Basically, we have the design in CAD, but we haven't yet had a chance to kind of bring it to life yet through our manufacturer. And there are small things, small tweaks that we want to do to that to make sure that it survives drop tests, for example, that it's as durable as it needs to be. So once we have everything honed and refined to the point where we're comfortable releasing that design, we promise you that those designs will get released up to places like Thingiverse. We want people to kind of take what we've started with and to expand it beyond what even we could think possible. So yes, Andy, absolutely, we'll get it to you.
And so Lindsey, something that was said was the possibilities, right? And so what are you excited about in terms of possibilities for this product? You got to have, got your hands dirty,
right,
making this thing. You've got to really explore it. What are you really excited to see the people at home using this product for?
Yeah, I think the stuff that everybody makes is so inspiring, and it'll inspire us to make even cooler products. But I'm really just excited to make myself lazier and use Rover to do all the different things that I really don't want to do.
I literally said the same thing an hour ago, right? Yeah, they were like, what are you going to do, Chris? And I was like, something that will make sure I stay inside more often.
Well, kind of combining both. What I want to do is I want to put an IR camera on it, and then I want it to chase the rabbits in my yard so that they'll not come back into my yard. And I can just set it up on a timer to, go chase them every 15 minutes kind of thing. I'm
You
like,
could put a loud horn on it too.
yeah, it's just like you can do anything.
So something that is actually really fun that everyone on the couch has been able to do is everyone just spits out ideas, right? Like you guys seem very, very creative. And so in terms of like, how did you guys get there, right? Like in terms of coming up with these ideas, you know, making sure that these products also work involves a lot of creativity.
I'd say I'm tangentially creative, and what I mean by that is I get inspired by what I see from other people, the true creators. I can take a twist on something, but the actual kind of inception thought, whatever, that can be difficult for me. So it doesn't come easy for everyone. But I hear Lindsey will say something. I'm like, oh yeah, but what, you know, maybe we take a spin on that. And so she's got a good idea, and then I've got a tangential idea. Like that just kind of builds on it.
I think Sphero is such an awesome place because it really wants people to put out these crazy, crazy creative ideas. And a lot of these ideas start huge. And we're like, oh, is that, like, can we do that? Is that a thing? And they're like, oh, yeah, we can do that. And we kind of pare it down from there. So I think a lot of great ideas start from big, crazy ones and just evolve from there.
You gotta filter it out, right?
Yeah.
You filter out the crazy and you come into like what is applicable, and then you
Right.
can add a little bit of crazy
And
again
you're
a
like,
little
maybe
later.
it really wasn't that crazy.
Yeah. Well, speaking of things that can be crazy, is the development of any product. And so, what was the? So Ashley is wondering, what was the biggest problem you encountered while creating Rover?
Oh boy, the specs.
The memories, I think, are
No,
coming across. Yeah.
I think the hardest part of any product development is the very beginning when you're trying to define what it is you're going to build. Because Lindsey and I have all the tools available to us in terms of building models and spreadsheet models and actual product models. But when it comes to knowing how big is it going to be, how heavy is it going to be, placing limits or whatever on those things, that's the hardest part, because once we have that information, everything else becomes a little bit easier because you have the knowledge you need in order to be able to do it. So working in the ambiguous environment of the start of a project is probably the hardest part. But once we get through that, I have found that things kind of just get a little bit easier. You always encounter technical challenges along the way, but the very beginning is always kind of the most challenging for me.
I think you're going to be building a prototype and there's going to be issues. And seeing the bigger picture and being like, okay, if I just get through this prototype, or if we just refine this, or, you know, do our calcs again, it'll, you know, we can work this out. And I think it's sometimes hard to see, you know, through the weeds and get there, but I promise you, and, you know, for future engineers, like if you just work at it and you guys get to the root of the problem and take it a step at a time, it'll work.
I think one more thing is knowing when you have a prototype and something doesn't work the way you expect,
Right.
is it a problem with the design or is it a problem with the prototype? So we 3D print a lot of things. It's not the same as a production part, but we've encountered issues along the way and we've had to make decisions whether or not it's truly a design issue and something that needs to be fixed, or if it's something that we're just dealing with because we have imperfect parts that were made a different way than what they would in production. And that takes some knowledge, it takes some experience. So it's kind of filtering those issues and kind of deciding what matters and what doesn't.
Cool. Well, we heard about the hard parts. Let's talk about a little bit more about the awesome parts. So I hear a certain kind of block might be compatible with the Rover.
Yes.
A very famous one out there that a lot of people have requested. And another thing is, can I get this in the water? Can I get it over some lily pads? Can I make it a frog?
It's not amphibious, I will tell you that right now. It is designed to be able to kind of go through dewy grass. So don't bring it out in a torrential rain. Don't drive it through puddles. But if you have sort of just a wet surface, it's okay to drive on that. But it's not a swimming product by any stretch.
I drove through some mud puddles the other day and it still worked. And the
Hey,
prototype
there
still
it
works,
is.
so-
It's all about
Yeah,
experimentation.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not when you've officially gotten it. When
Right.
you're working here, I think you get a little bit of more of a leeway. So the last thing that I wanted to ask both of you is just kind of like, what's your favorite part about it, right? You know the ins and outs, both of you, of this machine, and as hardware professionals within this, you know everything about the workings of this robot. What's your favorite part about it?
I need a moment to think about that, so I'm going to
Okay.
let you answer first.
I was gonna say the battery. I think it's just it was one of those crazy ideas that came up in the beginning that is not so crazy right now. And it's a huge battery. It's like 4,600 milliamp hours.
Yeah.
And you can just take it out and charge it with a USB-C and put it back in. and your rover is good to go again. And so you guys, people can't complain that the battery is the first thing to die because you can just go buy another one.
Awesome.
I'm in love with the form factor of this guy. Sometimes people miss the nuances, but a lot of thought has gone into it. Just the shape of the headlights is something that we've thought through a lot. And sometimes you can appreciate a design from afar, and sometimes you can appreciate it up close. And this is one of those designs where the more I look at it up close, the more I appreciate the thought that went into it. And I think that's a testament to Brian, our industrial designer, who really brought Sphero's DNA to this product. I mean, the nubbies are the treads are bored from Ollie.
Yeah.
We've kind of had rounded shapes on it to kind of bring back that Sphero approachability. For me, it's the design from up close, not from afar, that really kind of impresses me on this one.
You actually brought up something that's really interesting because this is one of your first non-ball products, right? You've made some other products for Disney in the past when it came to that form factor, but it was robotic balls for a really long time. And what you just said, injecting that Sphero personality in this design for a product that has never really looked like anything Sphero's made before. Is that really exciting for you guys?
Absolutely. Anytime you branch out and kind of go beyond what's known and you kind of bring other elements to a design, it's always fascinating to see just what you can do with the foundation you have, but also with kind of what's known and with the talent that you have internally. So Lindsey's brought a lot of really good experience to kind of how this thing was supposed to have been designed, and I've brought mine, and together we just kind of worked with the other people in the company to kind of just roll out an awesome product.
Yeah, and we still kind of got a sphere if you look at it from a profile. We have it, and that was like a thing that we put a lot of thought into. Is some people want a nice flat roll cage, but we're kind of keeping with the spherical profile there.
Well, something else that you guys are just really letting me know right now is something that's really big in the world right now is intentional design, right? Not designing anything like offshoot, right? And I'm really seeing a lot of intentional design here on this product. And for you guys, is that important for newer people who are working with robots to kind of look into? So if you guys at home don't know what intentional design is, it's just kind of like coming into it with that idea, and even if you think it might be wrong, going 100% into this idea so you know exactly why it's wrong, right? You got to be intentional about all of it, and you guys have obviously taken that process to this product.
Yeah, I think Brian even reminded us yesterday of that. We're trying to figure something out here, and he's like, we need to make it look like we really thought about this. We don't want it to look like it was just slapped on, because people will notice too.
Yeah, and in terms of intentional design, we initially had a product that was very symmetrical, front to back, left to right, top to bottom. And we said, well, that's not optimal for this particular application because we wanted lots of ground clearance on the bottom side, but we didn't necessarily need it on the top. But we also discovered having symmetry front to back, because that was part of the design initially. We would get the first prototypes and like, well, which way is forward, which way is back? And the only way to know was headlight versus taillight. And so it became obvious as we went through, intentionally obvious, almost to make certain decisions to make it asymmetrical in the interest of kind of making it easier to interact with. So that's part of the intentional design that Brian brought to the equation that really makes this product a lot of fun to play with.
Well, what's really cool hearing everyone talk on the couch so far is all of you are so creative, and I think there's a nasty stereotype sometimes, especially with people who work with robots and just technology in general, that, you know, that's what they do, right? They don't think about the things that you guys just described, so it's really cool to see that you are taking the time to think about what is front and what is back and how that might affect the user experience. That's really awesome. So thank you guys for joining me on the couch today. It's been fun. Do you have anything you want to say to the audience before we head out?
Keep buying rovers.
Yes, and go.
All right.
So we can't forget the trailer. We have a video up on the Kickstarter that shows the trailer, and the trailer's awesome. And these are small things that, as we play, because we take these prototypes, we play with them, we create new experiences, we have fun. We're going to start rolling out these things as well. They're not going to they might not look as refined as the robot itself, but the idea is to get in there, hack something together in 5 or 10 minutes, print it off, have fun, see what works, see what doesn't, and then repeat. So trailers and brick toppers, these are the things that we're going to start to kind of throw together as time goes on and as we get closer to launch. we'll be uploading these kinds of things to locations where people can pull it down.
Awesome. So you can do it alone or you can do it collaboratively, but the thing about this robot is it's going to like perform for you. And I can tell just from what you guys are talking about, the hardware, the software, all of it is grounded in creativity and just awesomeness. So thank you guys so much for joining us. We're going to take a quick little break before we go on to our next section. But once again, thank you. We'll see everyone soon.